We'd like to welcome you to another episode of From Field to Plate with Larry. I'm Larry, for those that haven't met me before. I want to welcome you to my home. This is our backyard. We do a lot of family time and cooking here. I was wanting to bring an episode of last year's deer harvest, venison harvest that we got here on the farm. And it's getting fall time of the year, cooler temperatures. There's nothing better than a good stew, soup, beef stew, whatever you want to call it, but this one be with venison. And I call this the Duck Creek stew. So kind of some of the stuff I like best. If you don't notice, there's smoke, so you might see me move from time to time. This is all natural. It's live, so we're live while we're filming it. So we'll get started here today. So what we have here is what I call the Duck Creek stew. Something I created. I like beef stew and I like certain things, but this stew has all the favorite ingredients I like. Black-eyed peas, a little bit of sweet Vidalia onion and fresh mushrooms, some new potatoes, actually from the nice local farm stands in West Liberty, Kentucky. And then we have some golden mushroom soup, condensed soup that I like to use to, it thickens, it gives it really good flavor. What you see back there is chicken stock, sodium free. And then actually what I have now is some venison cube that's cubed up. And we'll actually roll it in the flour and then we'll fry it, get it hot and brown it all up, add the onions, add the potatoes, onions and everything. And I'll show you as I do that. I'll show you all the ingredients as we slowly put them in there and let them brown and stir up. And then normally, if you see the Dutch oven, that's what I started in. But I prepared it a little bit before one batch of it, so it'd be ready to go when we got finished. And I'm going to show you in a smaller version where you can see down in the pan like actual steps of doing the venison and putting onions in, where it's a little better view and you at home can see it a little bit better. And this actually makes a full pot in the Dutch oven. You'll see it in a little bit when we plate it up. It's completely full, and we'll have the recipe posted on the website that y'all can look at later. So what I'd like to do, and normally you see everything prepped. I do all my prep in the kitchen before I ever come out, because as you can see, there's not a lot of prep space. You kind of want it ready to go. So my deer meat's been marinating overnight in just a wild game seasoning. I think it's Allegro or something like that, Allega, or it's Allegra. You can get it at IGA, and it's just a real good wild game seasoning marinade. This is just simple flour with granulated garlic and onion powder and seasoning salt in it. And I always use tongs because there ain't a whole lot of place out here to wash your hands, so I try to stay as clean as I can. And I'll put it all in here. You actually use 3 pounds of venison roast. You cube it all up in this size cubes, and you braise it and you brown it off in the hot lard, and actually put 3 tablespoons of lard in the bottom of my iron skillet or Dutch oven, whichever one you prefer to use. And it don't have to be coated real heavy, but you just want a little bit of coating on the deer meat. It does 2 things. It browns it, and then it also helps thicken your stew as it cooks through the process. So that's why I usually put flour in it and brown it, and it just makes it, overall gives it a little better flavor. If you can see, it don't have to be perfectly coated. You can shake it around in there like that and get it coated. You don't have to get your hands dirty. And if you want to look at it, you can see about how it's coated, lightly coated, browned. That's fine. Like I said, 3 tablespoons of lard. We go the old-fashioned way here. It ain't cooking oil, ain't vegetable oil. It's just good old lard. And you want to put it in there, and we'll put it over a fire a little more. It'll slowly start to brown. You don't want it to be super hot because you don't want to burn your flour. You don't want to burn it because it'll make the stew taste burnt. So you want to, and you want to put, when we put it all in here, I'll show you what it looks like when it starts browning. I just lay these to the side. As you can tell, it's rustic. It's going to be, you're cooking outside in a fire pit, so it ain't going to be no high-end kitchen. And you can, if you could hear you can hear it sizzle and start frying slowly. And that's what you want, because if you put it in there, like I said, too quick, too fast, it's too hot, it's going to burn. It's going to have a charred taste on the meat, and it's going to make a stew taste funny. Actually, it's all right to use a spoon that's in your condensed mushroom soup, because it's all going to be there in a minute anyhow. So you don't have a dirty bunch of dishes. But if you can look at that and see how it's browning up already, and that's what you're looking for. You just want it to brown slightly on each side. If you can see that. And these are big pieces, and that's all right, because after you get all this browned up and after you get it cooking, it's going to simmer for about 2.5 to 3 hours, and that breaks the venison down, makes it tender, and makes it really good. So it's all right to have bigger pieces and do it that way. After this browns for a little while, this is one of my favorite meals. It kind of gets me in the mood for hunting season, fall. Like I've said several times on the show, you know, we like to eat what we kill, and I enjoy going out hunting and being able to cook a nice meal for family and friends. Here on the game preserve, on the quail preserve, sometimes we have people over that hunts, and after hunting we'll have a thing of stew made, and we'll just sit all back here by a fire pit or sit on the back porch and eat and talk about dogs and bird work, and you know, it's just kind of fun to get together. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to add my onions and add them to it. Oh, you might drop a few. And mushrooms, you can add all them in it together right now. And each time I add something in it, I let it brown, let it set for a minute, and kind of get all the seasonings in it. And you want the onions to cook for a little while, kind of turn a little bit translucent. And you can see it's just all browning up. Probably take you, let the onions cook for about 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, ain't no big deal before you start adding something else. And this feed, once you get it done, it'll probably feed 10, 12 people. It's a pretty good sized pot. I mean, with normal serving with a piece of cornbread. That's my favorite thing to eat it with, some cornbread. And then after that, I usually just cut my potatoes up right here. I'll quarter them. They've already been pre-washed. Just a good hunting knife. Make sure it's clean, ready to go. And I'll quarter up, and I'll just put them in there like that. No rhyme or reason to it. Just lay them in there, let them start browning. The recipe, dogs get those later. As you can tell, you know, if this is just fun, you're sitting by a fire pit, you make a mistake, you drop something, ain't no big deal. It's, you know, there's been plenty of meat lost down in there and charred or whatever. Normally, on a whole stew, I'll put about 10 new potatoes. I'll quarter them. Since we're doing a smaller version, actually showing you guys at home. That's why I use a smaller pan, so y'all could actually, we get a good shot and you see how it cooks up. If you can see this and zoom in on it, you'll just keep cooking this and letting it brown up. And it'll cook condensed way on down. And then to that, my next favorite thing is black-eyed peas. It's one of my all-time favorites. I love black-eyed peas. I could eat them by themselves. And with the onions, mushrooms, and the golden mushroom condensed soup that I have, it's a wonderful flavor, and you'll be able to tell after a while when it all comes together. It gives you a little more richness and stuff in the stew. And you know, I created it, so I get to use what I want to and what I like. So I'll put the black-eyed peas in. And it's fine to use that because, like I said, it cooks. You can use the same spatula to turn it around. There ain't no use to dirtying 4 or 5 different things for each ingredient because it's a stew. It's all together. And and this is set, like I said, you'd probably let this cook brown another 5 or 10 minutes before you go on to the next step. And the next step would be to add your condensed soup, or you can add your chicken stock. I'll reach over here and get this if I don't get burnt. But I'm not promoting no brand, just get chicken stock, any kind, low sodium. So if you got high blood pressure, of course, get low sodium or whatever. This is low sodium. It doesn't matter what brand, chicken stock's chicken stock. A lot of times, one thing I will do a lot during when quail season comes in, we start shooting quail on the preserve. I'll make my own stock out of quail. I won't waste none of it. I'll breast them out, take the bones and vegetables and stuff and make a good stock, and you can freeze it and it'll last all winter, and you don't have to go store and buy stock. You got your own already made. I'll pour a whole thing of soup, takes half of a box of chicken stock like this. Save the rest of it, because once you cook it, depending on how much flour and how much it thickens, you might want to add a little chicken stock to thin it up so it's not so thick at the end of it. You can start seeing that come to a boil a little bit, sitting over fire on the edges. And we'll get another quick shot of this. This is with everything in it except the golden mushroom soup, and we're getting ready to add that. And that's really where all your flavor and thickness comes. There's not a lot of seasoning in this, other than what the venison's breaded in, which is just all-purpose flour, seasoning, salt, and just put what you like in. I'll put about a tablespoon or so of each in it. You'll put some garlic powder in it, or onion, and both onion powder, mix it, and that's pretty much all the seasoning. And you can tell when it gets done, it's plenty. You don't want to overpower because you got so many good ingredients in it. It tastes really good. Next, you use 1 can of whole golden mushroom condensed soup by Campbell's brand, any brand. It's just in a small can. I think they're 16 ounce, 8 ounce cans, whatever the small cans is. And you put it in there. And you actually, whichever one you want to use, you stir all this in. And keep in mind, this being a Dutch oven. If you could do it in a pan like this, but it's only going to feed 3 or 4 people at the most. Cook it down. It's fine if you don't have a Dutch oven and you want to make a smaller version like this. Just use about a pound of venison, cut in a cube. Cut the ingredients in about 1/3 or half. You know, it's an old science to this recipe. If you like a little more black-eyed peas, add a little black-eyed peas. If you like more potatoes, add potatoes. If you say, hey, I like carrots, throw some carrots in there. This is just my favorite ingredients. And you want to mix all this together. And once you get it all mixed together and you'll bring it to a boil on the stove, or on fire pit. I always cook this on fire pit most of the time. And once it comes to a boil, you put it down on simmer, and you let it simmer for about 2 to 3 hours, depending on when the deer meat breaks down completely and it's real tender and stuff. That's when I consider it's done. You can let it set overnight, and it'll add flavor to it. And then you can heat it back up the next day. Most of the time, if you do, you need to add a little extra chicken stock because it thickens. And it's, you can make a pot of this and eat on it for 2 or 3 days if you're at hunting camp and you want to say it's Saturday morning and you're going to hunt hard for 2 or 3 days and you want something you can just warm up of evenings when you come in, make you a big pot of it, and, it'll last you 2 or 3 days. After you get all the ingredients in and it starts to simmer, then you'll put a lid on it, like I said, and let it cook for 2 or 3 more hours, and then it's done. That's pretty much the recipe. It's so easy. You can add, take away from it. There's an ingredient you don't like, we'll have the recipe listed on the website in a few days. And then after that, and it gets cooked, after it simmers, and then we'll serve it up a little bit with some cornbread. And when we come back from a break, we'll get started on the cornbread over the campfire. Okay, next thing I like to cook whenever I'm having this stew is some homemade cornbread. 1.5 cups of hot rise cornmeal. It's a cup of all-purpose flour, 2 eggs, a little bit of sugar, a cup of milk. And if it's a little too thick, it doesn't turn, it's a little too thick to pour out. Just add a little more milk, water to get it to consistency. If you want to look here, you want it where it'll pour out pretty easy, about like that. You can see that. Nothing fancy. Got a cast iron skillet, about 4 tablespoons of lard in it. Y'all didn't see it when I got started. My cast iron skillet was kind of off level, so we got plenty of rocks. When you're outside, fire pit, camping, whatever, you need to level it up. Throw a rock underneath of it, give it level where your oil's level in it, and hopefully it'll fry good. One of the tricks I do, I got a couple different pans. This is just one of those new copper, the copper cooker things that, air cook or whatever in oven. I use it more for stuff like this. It has legs on it, and I got some cooling racks I use too. You can use whatever you want to use. I was just showing you something I had for my kitchen that that's handy to use. And anytime I'm frying something, I don't like using paper towels and stuff at all because it gets soggy and wet and that grease soaks back up in your food. So I like to use something like this where grease will drain down. There's still some heat from a fire pit that's going to hit it, so it's going to stay warm and it's not going to be greasy. So that's my goal. That's always my objective. When we're frying quail or fish here on the farm or at the preserve, same way, I throw it in something like that where grease drains down and don't set and soak in that grease and gets all yucky. If you can see, I don't know how close you can zoom up, but if you can see that, the one that we started showing you guys with ingredients on the stew, it's starting to bubble and cook now. It cooks faster, of course, with the lid on. I just kindly wanted to leave this out so you can see the stages of it as it cooks. And it's starting to come together, thicken. Of course, you need to let it cook for about another 2 hours. But you can see as it's starting to change color and everything's starting to mix together, and the mushrooms are starting to cook down. That's what you want. 2 more hours, it'll be ready to go. And now we're going to do cornbread. When I do my cornbread, I always get a measuring cup. Depend on, I'm calling it cornbread, but really it's whole cakes or fried cornbread. My mama used to make it, and I really like it that way when it's fried. We're going to go with about 1/2 of a cup. I use 1 cup measuring cup, and I want to do it about half full. And we're going to give this a try. We may have a try it again in a minute if it's too hot. And you just want to do a small cake like that, and let it fry in that. Sometimes you have to make some adjustments. You might have a little more, too much oil in it. The heat might be a little hot, and the next one you might have it pull away from the side a little bit, keep the heat. And that's the only real way that you can adjust the heat on the outside is just move your pot around, move it, or get in there and move the wood around, and that helps you keep your heat from getting too hot. Just some quick tips on kind of stuff I look for and do when I'm cooking on fire pit. It's you don't have no thermometer on this. You don't have no dials that you can turn it up and down to low and medium. So you kind of just have to do it old school and feel your pit out and where the cool spots are hot. If you see something that's getting way too hot or might be starting to burn, put it over on the cool side and let it finish cooking. Jonathan, I'll show this to you if you want to do a pull close up on that. It's fried. They're not going to look perfect. It's fried cornbread. Some of them be perfect round shape. Some of them might be oblong, but it all eats good. And we'll let that cook for a few minutes. And when we come, I'll flip it in a minute, and then we'll cook several more. We come back after I'm showing you when I flip this, we'll plate everything, be ready to eat. It's still a few minutes till you can flip. You can usually tell. You don't want to mess around with it as far as moving it around till it's sort of like a pancake. My mama always taught me when you're making pancakes that when you start seeing bubbles come up all the way through it, it's ready to flip. So you want to do the same thing with the cornbread. If you can see right now, it's starting to get small bubbles, but it's not enough that I'd want to flip it right now or feel good about it. And if you flip it too quick, you're going to have, the scrambled cornbread. It ain't going to look good. So, and that's kind of what you look for to flipping it. So here in probably another minute or two, we'll be able to flip that one, and we'll make some more. We made one already, got fried. Had to just heat a little bit, get a little hotter. That's normal. You got to play it by feel, sight, and don't stick your hand in there, or it'll burn you. But far as feel, put a little more batter in there and see how quick it fries. Some people like their cornbread spicy. I like spicy food. So instead of making the whole batch spicy, one plus to frying these up is I'm gonna get me another scoop, about half of a cup full, and I'm gonna pour in there. Skillet's real hot now. You can really hear it sizzling. That's what you want to see. I'll just cut some jalapeno up and just put them in there. Like I'll show it to you in a minute, and just spread it out about like that. And show you close up on it. That's what it looks like. And you can make it a little spicy, not make a whole batch spicy. You can make some like this and some regular. And we'll let that fry for a few minutes. And we'll finish this up, and we'll plate it up here in a little bit. Here's what one looks like fried. It turned out pretty good. It's pretty crispy. And that's what you're looking for. I don't know if y'all like crispy cornbread, but I like mine to have a little crisp on it. Again, it's fried cornbread, so it ain't gonna be like, like my grandma used to make it big thick pones. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be thin and fried, and that's what you're looking for, something like that. We fried a few pieces of cornbread. We got some more to fry later. We're hungry. We're ready to eat, so we're gonna plate up. Simple, just any kind of bowl you got. We use these wicker bowls outside. It kind of keeps your hands from getting burned up if it's real hot. Keeps it warm. So I usually just put a scoop of this in too. And if you can see, you got the potatoes, the black-eyed peas, and you got a bit of venison in there, some mushrooms, and simple to serve it. I just serve it with a piece of cornbread, and when you're sitting around the fire, you don't have tons of room to put stuff, so I just put the cornbread right on the side like that. You can either dip it in it or crunch it up in it and eat it as you go, but this is the meal, and hope y'all enjoy this recipe. When we come back, we'll be making some grilled peaches. One of my all-time favorite things to do is grilled peaches and pears. A lot of people may have not tried that. It's great. It's called a rock fruit, and they're real popular to grill for that because they hold their shape and they won't mush up and fall to pieces. Simple to do, nothing complicated about this. Get you some peaches off the tree. My uncle's got some peaches. I usually get some from. This come from the vegetable stand fruit farm there in West Liberty, and actually it's simple. Cut them in half. I pre-washed these before I brought them out. Take the pit out. You don't want to eat it. Pears is super good this way. I'll get them off the grate after a while. These are really good peaches too. Simple. Once you do this, I'll grill them for a few minutes on each side, and after I grill them face down, I actually turn them back up, and I'll put some brown sugar and cinnamon. This is a staple at our house. We keep it in a bowl pre-mixed for cinnamon toast or whatever for the kids, so we always got some. Hot grate, you can do it on a grill. You don't have to do it on a fire pit. You can do them in your oven. Turn it on broil. We do wintertime peaches and pears, so you can do it anytime you want to. You can hear, if you could hear it, they're searing right now. You want to turn them all up. So we'll let them grill a few minutes. We'll come back in a minute, flip them over, put some brown sugar, cinnamon on them, serve them with some ice cream, and we'll be ready. Welcome back. We're finishing the evening up. Had a great time this evening. Hope y'all enjoyed watching this. If you try the stew, I hope you enjoy it, and the fried cornbread. Like I said, tweak the recipe, adjust your heat how you need to. Everyone's fire pit's going to be a little bit different. All this recipe you can do on a grill, you can do in a house. It doesn't make no difference. But I do have a saying my pastor in Florida always told me, when he eat good, he's from Louisiana, so he eats some good food and this and that. But he said that's good enough, it'd make a tadpole slap a whale. And that's what we're getting ready. We're getting ready to have some grilled peaches and vanilla ice cream, and I promise you, it'd make a tadpole slap it well. To plate it up, just take one of the peaches, and you want it just where it's kindly firm still. You don't want it like grilled where it's so mushy and you can't eat it. And along with that, you take a scoop of ice cream and put right along the side of it like this. And it already has brown sugar and cinnamon in it. And if you had some mint or something, you want to get all fancy, you can throw mint leaf on there. But I'm not too fancy, so I'm a country boy. This is what you get: it's grilled peaches and vanilla ice cream. Hope y'all enjoyed. It's so fun filming this today, and hope you can use some of this at your house and your home and kitchen. Enjoy it with your family and friends, or enjoy the stew when you're out camping, hunting of the weekend with some buddies. You know, I made it and throwed quail, squirrel. I've made it, put all different kinds of meat, and then you get in more to the burgoo type meal. But anyhow, that's Duck Creek stew at its finest. Some grilled peaches and vanilla ice cream. We'll have these recipes loaded up on the website in a few days. I'd like to thank MTTV for filming this and let me have opportunity to bring my show from field to plate with you guys. We're going to have some more upcoming episodes this fall, maybe some crappie fishing. We'll have some bird hunting when the birds stuff, and do some more frying some fish and cooking some quail and doing some hunts. So hope you enjoy it. Thanks again, and y'all have a good weekend.